Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Outside the Fence, brought to you by Misfit TV and our sponsor, not Misfit Productions. It's Richie's Smokin' Barbecue. Tonight he brought in one of the staples of the company, brisket, pork, cornbread with little pieces of corn in there, and some homemade coleslaw. Pretty good stuff he's got going.
It's good.
And we got a new sponsor, but we'll save that for a little bit later into the show. We were off last week. 2 weeks ago, we were excited to have Rich Bickle Jr., the legend here, sitting in this shop in South Beloit, home of DJ Smith and the NASCAR late model. He runs at Rockford Speedway, but a lot of that action coming up. We'll talk about that. Let's go into the Big 8 Series schedule was released, I believe it was last Friday. 9 big races this year, and some of the comments are, well, it's a Big 8. How can you have 9 races? It's that's impossible. Well, actually, in 2020, we had 9 scheduled, but with COVID, that didn't really happen. A couple years back, we had 7 races one year. So I was asking, what is the real Big 8 story? Where did it come from? And I always thought it was 8-inch tires,
okay,
and eight cylinders.
I thought it was 8-inch tires. Yeah.
And 8-cylinder cars. So we'll stick with that story. But that schedule is out. Very exciting. Kicking off. And, let me introduce tonight's guests. William, Billy, Bill, Balmes. Which one do you go by?
Whatever
All
you
three?
want. Anything you want.
All right.
Bill Balmes is great.
All right, we'll go with Bill. I always call him Billy, but...
That's okay.
What spring classics coming up? Well, we'll get back to you. You got a big story. You got some big news coming out of your camp this year. So
yeah, this year we are going from Roadrunners, and we're going to be moving up to the limited late models. Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
So that leads me into the opening race, the spring classic at Rockford Speedway, scheduled now for Saturday, April 17th. We'll practice on Friday night. Practice the Saturday before, and then the following week. On Sunday, we'll go to Slinger Speedway for an 88-lap event. You plan on doing any of the Big 8 stuff, or is it all Rockford Rookie of the Year?
You know
stuff?
what? I would love to do some Big 8 stuff, but boss won't let me.
Okay.
We're gonna stick with rookie points.
Okay.
And and get some seat time, and shake the bugs off, because those cars are fast.
How different than a Roadrunner, huh?
Golly.
We'll get into that story a little bit later on the night out last year. But
Yep.
that's that Big 8 series again. Back to that real quick. And then we roll off to Hawkeye Downs. We were off there last year because of COVID, and we rescheduled, and then they got hit by the derecho storm that took out all their lighting and track lights, all that. Wow. So anyway, then we go back to Rockford for the Star Spangled 76. It'll be again a combination Big 8 NASCAR point event.
So I will be there for that one.
There you are. You're in the Big 8 series now.
Okay, well, I guess I'm in the Big 8 series then. I'll be getting points for that, won't I?
Yes, you will.
Wow, all right.
You're doing good.
All right.
Moving on from there, we go to State Park Speedway, the Larry Deachens Memorial, July 23rd, I believe. It's a Friday night. And then the following week, we ended up putting Madison International onto the calendar for that. Now I'm just drawing a blank on the date, but I want to say it's July 30th. Could be wrong on that one.
That
don't sound right?
Bucket list, man.
I think so. And I have to apologize for the delay in the schedule because honestly, it's been Madison and Slinger and Wisconsin. Their COVID restrictions here in southern Wisconsin have really thrown these racetracks for a loop.
Madison got it real bad because of all the COVID from
Dane County.
Yeah.
And I had went to a power meeting, which is promoters of Wisconsin auto racing, Tuesday night, and I asked all the guys in Wisconsin, I said, okay, who has any restrictions? And the only people that raised their hands was Madison, Angel Park, and Slinger. And every other racetrack was wide open, and actually they had barn burner years and great years and good attendance, good car count. So
great.
That was kind of interesting. But we still don't know what's going to happen at Madison and Angel Park Speedway for their fate. I think they're up to 500 people is their current limit right now. I know Slinger's at 25%.
So they're going to be all in the infield, or are they going to be able to be in the grandstand?
Well, that's the
yeah.
Last year he did try a drive-in deal where put in the concrete walls all the way around the infield and only cars up on top. And I went to that event, and it was sickening. I mean, it was just weird. Yeah. There's nobody in the stands. You're sitting in cars, and he'll never do that again. I know that. Hey, and we got Lexi joining us tonight's show.
Hi, baby.
But anyway, moving on from there, we go to that'd be a marquee event of the year, going to the Milwaukee Mile. On August 29th,
I so
Sunday.
want to do that so bad. Oh.
There's a lot of interest in that event, and we're going to make it an incentive. If you run a Big 8 race and you want to race at Milwaukee Mile, we were going to make it you had to have a race in or have a couple of races in. Really, we wanted to see the cars before we went to Milwaukee.
Okay.
Tech them, look at them. Because there's some things you do at Milwaukee that you don't do at short tracks. But if you don't have, just the aerodynamics of the car.
Oh, okay.
So that's his idea. Would get to see them once before they came to Milwaukee and eyeball them up. But we'll let guys race that don't have Big 8 points, but there'll be a higher entry fee prior to that event for her. So that should be good. 7 years ago, we had 47 cars start the field, so we're anticipating.
You gonna have mid-ams and everything else there too, or just
the weekend we're there? It's the ARCA Menard Series, the national guys that ran at Daytona, and earlier in June they have the Midwest Tour, Mid-Am, and Vintage or Trucks there. So there's 2 Milwaukee Mile races this year, which is really exciting from a Wisconsin history and Milwaukee Mile. And I've been to every race there, from Indy cars to the Busch races, the old USAC days. That's when it was really good in the old days. But so moving on from there, we come back to Rockford for the short track championship, and that event is now for the Big 8 late models is shifted from previously been on Saturday night. We ran the 108. Well, some big news, and it hasn't been released except for right now. The short track championships will not include super late models in 2021.
Really?
So the Big 8 late models will be the headliner on Sunday. We're working out the laps, the different deals for that. The hobby stocks will join us that weekend. The Mid-American stock cars. The Sportsman guys will take the headliner spot on Saturday with twin features for them.
Wow.
Looking at bringing in the 602 late models. And plus all the Rockford divisions will race either Friday night or Saturday. The Sixers were excluded from last year's National Short Track Championship, and they're on for Friday night because they really wanted to be part of that. So it's a new look for the weekend, a little change, but it was time. And unfortunately, in my opinion, the super late model has pretty much outgrown Rockford Speedway. They've got so much technology in these cars it turned into a wreck fest.
They're fast, man.
They're just too fast. You can't pass cleanly, and so big changes for that. But I think we're on a positive rate. That the Big 8 race will pay much better than it did in the past. So the format changes. That's kind of the delay in our getting the rest of our schedule out is reformatting that weekend. But so for the Big 8 series, we leave Rockford and head up to Oktoberfest and crown our champion up there. So it'll be exciting. Hopefully we can get all 9 races in. That's our goal. We'll see.
It's up to Mother Nature.
Up to Mother Nature and Governor Pritzker and all the people that think they're powerful. But so moving on, let's go to the Rockford side of the schedule. It's just people are here and are curious what's going on. And we did release our preseason schedule. So not far away, coming, what is this, March 20th on Saturday, we're going to have our first tire sale at the Speedway. Got over 500 tires coming in Monday night, and we'll have the tire sale on that Saturday. I think it's like 10 to noon or 10 to 1.
I'm going to need to bring my stagger tape and a checkbook.
That pretty much will get you going. That's a good start. The following weekend on Saturday night at 6 o'clock at the Forest Hills Dodge, we'll do our annual registration and orientation meeting where you sign up, get your numbers, get your NASCAR license, your race license. And this year we're going to do a rookie roundtable kind of for anybody that's new. And not part of the meeting, we're going to take everybody outside, sit down. We got Jerry Guiley, some of the seasoned veterans, to sit there and answer questions. And a lot of people are afraid in front of an audience to say, where do I go to the bathroom, or those kinds of questions. So we'll give them a little private area to...
Behind the trailer.
Yeah, exactly. That's where we all go. But in conjunction that weekend, that Saturday, and then concluding on Sunday, down in our pit area, we're going to have a swap meet. And then on Sunday, we'll do the swap meet and a car show. And we did that last fall. And we ended up, it turned out to be a beautiful weekend, but we ended up with like 130 cars.
Wow.
For the car show. And that
Street
was...
cars?
Yeah.
Wow. Nice.
And we had the typical swap meet, and we had a few racers. So this year, we're going to do the race car parts corral. Kind of put all these guys that want to sell. Unfortunately, we didn't have many racers auctioned this winter. We were only able to have one down in Davenport.
How'd that go?
Very good.
Did it?
It was very busy. Yeah, they were busy. It happened to be the same weekend as our Rockford Speedway banquet, so I was unable to attend both events. So I had to be here.
So you guys put the you guys.
Yeah, Greg McCarnes and I are put those events on. So they Davenport was. Real good, they're saying.
Done a lot of gun shows at that place.
Beautiful little place.
It's very, very nice. They do a really nice, they even got nice bathrooms. Some of these gun shows that we used to do, and we go in there and like, I'll pass, I'll wait.
And you're better off going out to the port.
Right, yeah.
That comes up. Anyway, that'll be March 27th, 28th, or 26th, whatever that is in that date. The next weekend happens to be Easter weekend. We'll take that off, obviously, and let everybody enjoy time with their families.
Yep.
The following weekend, we'll do a practice on Saturday, April 10th. And then on April 16th, Friday night, we'll practice for the Spring Classic. The Big 8 late models will be there with an 88-lap race. Halfway break this year, which is a new twist at Rockford. We did that last year, a couple of events. Along with that, we'll have the Mid-American Stock Car Series to kick off the season. So then we take a week off at Rockford, but the Big 8 Series travels up to Slinger on Sunday, the 25th of April. Following week after that is the WXRX 200-lap Enduro at Rockford on Saturday afternoon. And then there she is, the granddaddy of them all. Opening night for Rockford Speedway scheduled for Saturday, May 8th. So that's exciting. And it's coming quick.
Got a lot of stuff going on, man, in a short time.
It's coming quick.
Yeah.
That's the, you know.
Yeah, I was looking at the schedule and I'm like, I don't have that much time. I got stuff I gotta buy.
Well, I think when we had that nasty cold spell, that
Yeah.
just kind of shut everything down.
Yeah, I was out there. I was like, I can wait.
Right. Yeah. Well, and then then it starts warming up, and we're all out in like short sleeves when it's 30 degrees out. But that didn't last long.
Right. Yeah.
That didn't last long.
My car was in the trailer, and then I was trying to chunk all the ice off just to move the trailer so I could get it into the garage. It was crazy, man.
Well, it's all behind us. It's all warming up, and that's the excitement.
Oh yeah.
It's building. You
I
can
love
feel
it. It just went, and it was warm. I'm like, yes.
Thank God. Yes. Anyway, that's kind of the Rockford Speedway schedule. The rest of it's coming out the next few days. We're just trying to wrap up, and I try to give a schedule that's correct and not a bunch of changes. And I mean, I could put out a schedule that says racing on Saturday night, and that doesn't give you any details. But anyway, that's my goal, is get 100% correct to the best we can. I think obviously the changes that we went through last year, every week we were changing, and I think I had like 38 different versions of schedules to get going, and then cancel.
Well, that wasn't your fault, man.
No, not at all. And then we didn't know if we can go further than 2 weeks out. It was kind of like kind of weird. Anyway,
I kept calling up and like, what's going on? They're like, we don't even know. And it's like, well,
right. It was waiting for the.
Didn't you guys put something together, like all the tracks, and then you guys had like a big powwow and?
Right, we had the Illinois Motorsports Coalition, and that we all signed, and that worked. You ended up getting into the Illinois Department Economic something. That was actually the real.
See, that's why I have the
decision
acronyms in the government, so that you can just say powwow.
Exactly, but yeah, so. And that all helped, and down to the local people, and
so they knew you were serious when you did that, and it was just
right. That really made one voice from a lot of people, so that helped.
Gotta do that.
But moving on, we have we'll get the rest of that schedule out, like I had said, and DJ Smith's got a bunch of crazy news why we weren't here last week, but we'll leave that behind the scenes, and he agrees. So we'll put our hands up for old DJ for what he's gone through the last week here, and that's why we're off last weekend. But thanks for having us back, DJ.
Thanks, DJ.
We love doing Outside the Fence.
You're the man.
But let's get to our tonight's guest. Bill Balmes started as, well, you didn't start in Roadrunners. You guys have been involved in.
We started in the Jammin' Slammers.
Wow.
Yep. My dad took an '83 Chevrolet Impala station wagon, still had the wood paneling on it, and told my dad I wanted to race. And I thought we were going to be doing one car, and then I go over to the house, and he's got a lead pipe and a towel, and he's knocking the windows out of the car. I'm like, Dad, what are you doing? It's your car. He's like, this is a good car. We'll use this one. I'm like, but that's your car. And he's like, get
it's a street car.
Yeah, he's like, I'll get another one. So then we just welded the doors shut and had fun, man. Put a boat tank in the back of it.
A boat tank in the boat.
It was a boat, my God, yeah. Trying to get that thing to turn, I'm like, please. They had put like 45 pounds of air in the right front tire because it was those cop tires.
Right.
And those suckers, in that big old car, it would just roll over, and then it'd be big, after the race, it'd be big chunks of rubber. But thank God the tires were only $20 a piece, so you go get another one.
Right. Yeah, that was a great deal back in the day.
Oh man, those cop tires were nice.
So you guys into drag racing too, or any of that? Just all?
Well, we did the Jammin' Slammers. And then Dad said, let's move up. So then we got this Roadrunner from a figure 8 guy, and this thing, it looked like a crinkled up pop can that they pulled back apart. I mean, it was a 75 Monte Carlo, which is the norm for that track. And we just painted it purple and kept 007 on the side of it, and went out there, and wasn't anything like Slammers. Car's a little lighter, different kind of setup. And then we went, I think we did that from 98 to 99, 2000, somewhere around there. And then decided I wanted to go to a short tracker, got a short tracker. And then I took it out for practice, and Sparkman doored me. And I said, I don't
George or BJ?
George.
All right.
And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go road racing, because that's what my dad did. My dad, he raced Can-Am cars. He raced this little car called a Griffith. Had a 500 horse engine in it. It was like 1,400 pounds. Just like a fiberglass death machine. And it was seriously, and the thing did 200 miles an hour at Road America.
Wow.
Back in, what year was that, Clay?
67.
67. Yeah. And my brother Clayton, he's like, what happened if you got in an accident? Because, I mean, it just had a lap belt. And
Kind of a missile, kind of a...
Yeah, it just had a lap belt, little hoop. And he's like, what happened if you got in an accident? What if you would have hit a tree? And he goes, well, we tried not to do that back then.
Yeah.
So,
sense.
so I'm like, let's go road racing. So we took the short tracker, we put taillights in it, and we ran GT3 at Blackhawk.
Okay.
And that was a learning experience too, because brake management is very, very important there, because you're on the binders all day long. So we had to upgrade our brake kit. Clutch was garbage. We had to upgrade the clutch. But yeah, I had fun passing Porsches and stuff. And
Did you ever get a tree?
no, never got a tree, but I did get a BMW. And what else did I hit? Oh, that Mazda Miata, yeah. I was going they were black. I was going around turn 5, and me and this Corvair were duking it out, and this little Volkswagen, and I was like, why is this dude out here? So I go to pass the Corvair and the Volkswagen, and he comes over and he almost hits me. So then there's a corner work on every corner, and they're all like, oh, number 64, blah blah blah. So they call it in. So I'm going past the flag man. I'm like, why are they black flagging me? I didn't do anything. So I do another lap. So then, then I had you go like this. I'm going in, and so I go in, and I didn't see this little bitty pea pucker. It was a Mazda Miata, and I'm like, oh, and then he went off into the grass and went bouncing like that. So they pulled me into the pits, and they're looking at my car, and he said, I don't see any yellow paint on it. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, they said that you hit that Corvair. And I said, I didn't hit the Corvair. And he goes, well, I've taken enough of your time. And I didn't even listen to him anymore. I just turned the ignition on. It took off. And so then I'm flying down the back. It was at 3A. Yeah, it was 3A. And I jam on the binders, and there's this hard turn. Poof. And I go in it, and I look in this rearview mirror, and I'm like, that Mazda Miata ain't stopping. And boom, he hit me. I'm like, what the? And it was the guy that I pushed off in the grass, so he thought he was going to give me a little tap. Well, apparently he hit me a little too hard. And so my car like slid, and then I made it around the corner, and I looked to the right, and the whole front of that Miata's pushed up like this, antifreeze shooting out of him. I'm like, well, that was stupid. Because I had the original cast iron bumper on the back of my Mustang. So, I mean, when he hit that sucker, it messed his day up. But yeah, so that was the road racing. We did that from 2000 to 2004. And great thing about road racing is my car was so scary nobody hit me.
All right. Well,
Yeah, I mean, they'd see my car. And
do they ever hit though? I mean, that's rare.
Oh no, you don't hit nobody on
Yeah,
the road
that's-
course, because they pull you up there and they shake the finger that you sign this, write this piece of paper what you did.
Yeah,
And
it's-
don't do that again, or else it's going to be a two race penalty. And it's like, whatever, man. So
Is that SCCA?
no, that was Midwestern Council. It was
Midwestern
Midwestern
Council,
Council.
okay.
Yeah, I didn't want to get into SCCA. Those guys are snooty. But
That's where the wine and cheese moniker kind of came
yeah,
from.
well, I mean, there was one guy that got real salty with me, because, I mean, he had a lot of money in his Porsche, and I went blasting past him, and my car was 3 different colors. It had a white nose, a red body, and a black tail on it, I think, and some duct tape, because if the tire stuck out this far to past the fender.
Right.
You had to have fender flares on it, so we just took sheet metal and put it over there and put some duct tape on it. Good to go. Yeah, so then they had this whole appearance rule because I went past this Porsche and I made them all salty and yeah. So that was like, that's it. I'm done. And I don't want to race. I don't want to race road racing no more. And then I took a break and had the car sitting in the garage. And then the lightning bolt hit my garage and caught all the light sockets on fire and burnt my garage down.
It's a real story.
Real story.
Lightning. Poof.
I was working on my computer and like the lights are on right here. It went like this and it went boom and I went, what the? I'm like, all right, I'm shutting my computer off and go to bed. So then I go to bed and then I'm like, bang, 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 bang. Somebody's knocking on my door, and they said your house is on fire, and I'm like, I said, why is it so foggy outside? And he goes, I don't know. It wasn't fog. It was the smoke coming from the back of the house, from the garage, and you couldn't see nothing. So I go back there, and all my paint cans, you could hear them going pow, smash, pow, pow. And so I go out and grab a garden hose, and I'm going to do the fireman thing and kick the door, and I went, wait a minute. I seen backdraft. Now I know what's going to happen to me if I do something stupid. I ain't no hero. I got insurance, so forget it. So
Let her burn.
Let her burn, man. So they came with a chainsaw, and then the fuel cell had like a quarter of a tank in it. And then they're like, do you have any gas in there? And it went boom, and it blew the whole back of the garage off. And I'm like, not anymore. So then the Mustang was like a charred little s'more. So was my Harley and my toolbox. And of course, the insurance company, they're like, well, we'll give you $200 for the race car. And I'm like, wait a minute, it's a car. They're like, did you have insurance on it? And I'm like, no. And they're like, it's just contents. We'll give you $200 for scrap. And I'm like, oh, man. So, and then we cut the car up, and then who was it? Jeff Watson's kid, one of Jeff Watson's kids, wanted the motor out of it because he wanted to run short tracker. I said, all right. So we pull the engine out, and I give it to him, and then he gives me a Roadrunner motor. And I'm like, that's fair trade. So I get this Roadrunner motor, and then there was a thing on Facebook, and somebody was looking for a Roadrunner motor. I'm like, hey, I got one for sale, and it was Nick Schneider, and he built two Roadrunners. He had the 26 car, and then he was going to build a commemorative car for his dad. And so,
That's right.
and he said, you know, would you give me the motor? And I'm like, no. And he said, well. He's like, will you let me borrow it? And I said, no, I won't let you borrow it. I said, I'll tell you what. I'll do the oval track with the car, and then you can do the figure eight with the car. How about that? And then we can have the car out there, and then I'll do my stuff, you do your stuff. Deal. All right. So then he brings the car over, and then I've got this Roadrunner motor I know absolutely nothing about. Everybody's like, it's fast, it's a good motor, it's fast. I'm like, okay. Put the motor in the car, and then put the motor in the trans in the car, take it out there. The Roadrunners that were running then were not the Roadrunners that I was used to running. And different tires, different setup, and a lot more motor. And the first time I took it out, green flag came, I was in the back of the pack, I hit the gas, and they're like, poof, gone. And I'm like, go! Like this, go! So the car was just, wow, but then progressively I got the car a little bit better. Okay. I started asking questions, and Kevin Memley, he at the end of the season, he says, you know, I seen you, and I like the way, you know, I seen that you started out from back here getting lapped. Now you're keeping up with us, you know, and I'm going to help you. And I'm like, really? I said, dude, I can use as much help as you can give me on these cars. And so then and then he decided, and so then Nick said, well, they're not going to be doing figure eight with Roadrunners anymore. So I'm not going to need the car. So then he auctioned that car off. So then I took, Kevin Memley told me the best way to build a motor for Roadrunners. And I built a motor, and then I bought Justin Wagner's Caprice, and then we took that out there, right. And that was a handful. You can stop me anytime. I can keep going.
No, you're
Okay.
pulling right along.
So I took the Caprice. I had lots of motor, and then I found out last year I had a little bit of motor and a pretty good handling car. This year I got a lot of motor and a sick car. She was just angry at me, and it took me a while to finally figure it out. That's when I had to learn stagger. I had to learn setup. I had to learn tire. So and then the guy that was working with me, his name is Gene Neal, and he worked with Austin Kanitsky, and he ran Super Lades, and I was like, hey man, and he helped me put the motor together, and he was good with tires, and so he's like, we need a tire parameter. I'm like, well, why? It's just a Roadrunner, and so he's like, it'll help us get our tire pressures, and I was off by like 2 pounds on the right side, and when I did that, the car just, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, 2 pounds of air, really? And then the car just woke up, and then I was able to get a little bit more confidence and take it in deeper, and then we had a car that made it in the trophy dash, and then it was that car was awesome, and then it started to get a little bit tight, and I got fed up with the car, and then I bought a Monte Carlo. It was a metric car. See, I should have just stuck with the big Monte, because that car is so easy to set up. And I went, you know what, but because I seen Lounsbury, and I'm like, man, if Lounsbury can get that thing to handle on the bottom, that's got to be what you got to have. Obviously, he was doing something different than I was doing, because that metric car was angry at me too. So we started to get the car figured out, and then we started. I kind of was putting the bug in Clayton's ear. I'm like, I really want to move up. I love the Roadrunner division, but I really, really want to move up. I said, I'm 50 years old, and pretty soon I'm not going to be able to crawl in and out one of them little bitty cars, and I want to do it. And it's just something, and it's been something he's wanted to do. It's something I wanted to do. And I finally got the car. I finally got that metric Monte Carlo figured out. I was doing great with it in a practice one night, going to turn one, and it just rattled, banged, a bunch of smoke puked out of it, and the motor blew. And I said, that's it. I'm done. I don't want to play with these Roadrunners no more. I'm done. This is what I said, we're wasting our time. I want to go to late models. Well, and he's like, let's do it. So then the whole fiasco with the late model.
Well, let's step back to the Roadrunner a little bit.
Okay.
Just real quick we changed tires. We went to the Hoosier tire versus the old street tire.
The 850s, yep.
What was that the right move, or should we stay on the street tire? What'd you think?
No, I think the 850s. It's a great tire. It will last all summer. It'll last you all summer long. God forbid somebody gets into the side of you.
Right.
But that's gonna happen.
Any tire doesn't matter.
I mean, the price of it's $100. Everybody's like, oh my God, it's so expensive, but it lasts all summer. It's a great tire. And it'll let you run, but if you start beating it up, the tire's like, look, man, you do that one more time, and I'm not gonna be able to hold on again. And so, I mean, those tires will let you know when it's time to back off on it, because, and I guess it's all set up, and I really like the Hoosiers because radial tires, they don't have any side bite. Bias ply tires, they've got plenty of side bite, and it's great. It's the closest thing that you're gonna get, because next when you go from Roadrunners, you got to go up. You can't go. You could go back, but you got to go up. And so the next divisions, they're gonna have Hoosiers on them. So you better know what you're doing.
It's a good learning curve.
It definitely was. I learned a lot. I learned a lot having those tires on there. So no, don't change the tires.
Well, I wasn't planning to do it. I just wanted to get your opinion.
No, okay, no, I'm just saying if somebody wants to,
right.
Well, we want to get rid of these because they're so expensive. No, they're not. Stop it.
let's see, I know you're moving out of the Roadrunners, but this year we're allowing the crate motor.
Okay.
And your brother was, and you guys were all,
Yeah,
we're all involved in that.
Yep.
And
Yep.
we have yet to see how it works. I think we know. I mean, we've had a few cars out doing it.
The only qualms that I have about it is that chip. Because when you do that, now you're going to have to change gear. Some guys ain't going to want to do that. But
And that's currently under discussion.
Yeah.
We set it at 5,800, which is the factory recommended. Thank you. RPM.
Uh-huh.
But everybody says, well, we're gonna have to change our gears. We'll put to keep. So go to the 6,000 or the 6,200 chip.
right.
So that's. And even
But
when we
more
did
air,
that,
more air you put in it, more power it's going to make. Time's going
Right.
to go down, and we don't want to do that.
so yeah, that's. We still have a few of the quote old motors out there. We try to make it.
Well,
equal,
those guys are going to be running higher RPMs because that's the only way that you're going to stay up with those crate motors is
Just wind down.
you only got that little bitty 2-barrel, and you got to try to suck as much air through that little bugger as you can to make power.
Right.
So, I mean, I wouldn't recommend putting a 273 in it because now you're going to start chewing up valve springs and everything else. So,
Right.
I mean, the 256 in a small block Chevy, that's a great
happy spot.
That's a
isn't
great
it?
gear. Yeah, I ran the 410 last year in that Monte Carlo, but I had to run second gear, and I'm a tack watcher, so that's kind of where I would gauge where I was going to jam on the binders and hit the gas. And I was like, when I got it up to 6,200 RPMs, I'm like almost in the turn before I'm like, whoa, nope, this is taking it too deep, man. So that like 6,000 was a sweet spot for a 410 gear. So probably, I mean, if those guys run a 410 in low 2, and
Right.
you might be able to run Jefferson, keep it in low 1 and then run there. So, yeah.
Well, that's under review and probably going to change that. I mean, it's an $8 chip, but I don't want everybody to change the whole rear end. I mean, there's
Right.
more than that. It's not just the chip. So
Sure.
that's
Right.
come up a lot here as we get closer to get going here. And
I love that division. It's
one of the
great
best racing. I'll give it that. So we've graduated from Roadrunners. We're moving on. Last year you come out with a late model.
Yeah.
I'll let you tell the story. It's
So
probably better that way.
So, my brother told me, don't take the late model out, and I'm like, I won't. So, I take the seat out, put it in the car. Mike Coleman comes over there. I was like, I need a set of D800s. DJ helped me out with a set of the takeoffs, and put them on the car. And I take the car out there, and every time I hit the gas, the car's just going like this, and I'm like, oh, that's no big deal. And then I'm like, okay. So then I get a couple laps. I'm like, all right, it's getting better, all right. So then I get it up to around 6,500 RPMs. I'm like, all right, and then just snap, and that car spins around backwards. And Mike said, when the car starts to spin out, you're supposed to hit the gas, get the tires spinning so it doesn't walk up to the wall. Well, all that stuff was thinking in my head, but the problem was my feet went over here, and I'm like, oh. And I tried to get my foot back over to the gas, and the engine went, and I just flat spotted the wall on the driver's side, drug backwards, bent the limps on the rim, and I could hear the back tire go, and I'm like, all right. And so then you come over, and you go, well, you got the first one out of the way, and I'm like, and I didn't know what it meant because I was so pissed off at the time, but then I loaded the car up, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess I did get the first one out of the way.
You don't have to worry about it now.
No, I don't got to worry about that one.
You know what
no
it's
more.
like to hit.
So, lesson learned, if it's loose, you can do it with a Roadrunner, but you can't do it with a late model, man. I mean, those cars you got to respect them. It is not, you can get yourself banged up real quick with those cars. So
is Mike Coleman right? If you had your foot on the throttle,
I'm
you
sure,
could
he showed me a video after. He's like, see, this is what you do. And then he spun the car. I was, I'm like, yeah, I got it. And he goes, now go back out there, and I want you to watch those. Yes, sir. All right, I'll go back out there. So I'm watching everybody like a little whipped puppy. Like, I'm sorry.
Awesome.
Yeah. So but then there was another guy. He's like, well, just put a tire back on it and get back out there. I'm like, I'm not going back out there with that thing. No way. And then they're like, hey, are you gonna take it back out and do a couple of races with it this season? I'm like, so this was kind of a dilemma with me. I had a lot of chemical testing that I had to do to get into the military with our new products. So it's like, do I start on $1 million project or do I waste my time with a late model? And it's like,
easy answer.
So I'm gonna get this one done, make some money, and then I can go play with that.
There you
so,
go. Easy answer.
So that was and then I just took the break, and then we went in, we did all the testing and got all that done. But yeah, that's so. And then I bought this late model.
It's a new one.
Well, I bought
not a new
the
one,
blue
but...
one. The blue one I bought, and then I'm like, all right, so I got to change this. I got to change this. I don't like this. I don't like that. I want to do this. I want to do that. And then Jeff Strasbergen. He had a late model, and everything from the radiator to the fuel cell was brand new on the car. Had a Wagner 5.3 in it. Had the transmission I wanted. Had the brakes I wanted. Had the Coleman suspension I wanted. Had everything that I wanted. And I said, hey Clay, what about this? And he's like, buy it. I'm like, really? He said, buy it. I'm like, all right. So I went and got a cashier's check before he changed his mind and flew up to Jefferson and picked it up. But yeah, that car is really, really sweet. And it's I pulled it out of the trailer.
Yeah.
Oh. I pulled it out of the trailer, and I looked to the left, I looked to the right, and I just gave it a little goose and dumped the clutch in my front of my house, and that thing left a black mark, just blah. I'm like, yeah, this is a nice motor. So and then all my friends, half of them in my neighborhood are bikers, and they're like, yeah. And my wife's like, get that thing back in here before they tow it away. I'm like, okay. But yeah,
the neighbors gonna call the police.
Yeah, they're all cool. We all. I mean, my neighbor, he's got a Top Fuel Harley Davidson drag bike.
Oh.
Yeah, that thing is a monster. Oh my God, runs on nitromethane when you start it up with alcohol, and then because I'm the biggest guy there, they make me stand on the handlebars so that he can test the clutch. And it lifted me. And that little nitromethane powered Harley had so much power, it lifted me and the whole bike up. And then it jumped off the stand, and I'm like, ah! And I'm walking backwards with this thing. I'm like, don't you ever do that again. He's like, you ain't dead. Get up. But yeah, that was my story with the nitromethane Harley. But we're definitely going to be campaigning the car for the whole season. I'm going to be doing the whole rookie thing, and I'm planning on doing the whole season.
Awesome. We
got the money allocated for it, so I'm working on a couple other sponsors, but mainly it's going to be Spartamax Defense and Aeromotive Research, and that's two of our companies that we have. And the car is mainly instrumental for aeromotive research because we do a lot of testing with lubricants, bearing grease, power steering fluid, stuff like that for race cars. And I couldn't find a better test bed than that. And hey, it's a tax write-off, so because it all works. It's all testing, yeah. So we're currently with the aeromotive research. We're selling to Hendricks, and we're selling to who else? We're selling Chip Ganassi. Yeah, we're selling racing coolant to those guys. They're testing our stuff right now to see if they ran it at Daytona. They ran a racing coolant there. Yeah. But mainly, the main sponsor is going to be the Spartamax gun oil with Spartamax.
You've had that for a while.
We've had that for a while.
You guys have been with that.
But we've got, now we've got the defense contract. So now we've got Spartamax and we got Spartamax Defense. So we had to get a new corporation and get a new building, and we got to expand. We got to get fillers. So yeah, it's turning in from a garage into a real business now. So yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
On that, but that's awesome.
It is.
Probably a nightmare. More government regulations and bureaucratic
There's
BS.
you know, they really, really work with you. They really want small business. They've got a small business association, a small business group. They've got all kinds of people that help you get in there, but you just gotta find the right people to talk to. And
Right.
God bless my brother. He knows how to talk to people and he knows how to get stuff done. And if it wasn't for him, there ain't no way that I mean, I had the great idea, but he's the one that it kind of snowballed it, and it got to fruition to where we can actually do it. You know, I mean, there's a lot of people and a lot of roadblocks, and it took us a long time to get here, but you know, because we're bio-based, that's how we got the favor, because back when Obama was in administration, they had the bio-based initiative, and they wanted bio-based products. Now, and when I originally made this gun lube, it wasn't because I wanted to make it bio-based and I'm a tree hugger or anything like that. I just made it that way because it's a really, really good solvent for cleaning guns, because it's really good for cleaning carbon. And he's the one that actually got the initiative started with the military. He's the one that spearheaded it. He's the one that got all the wheels turning with it. He's the one that got it going.
You're talking Clayton.
I'm talking to Clayton.
Your brother, who's in the
Clayton.
back of the room.
Yeah.
Congratulations too
He's-
for both you guys.
He's
This
the
is
one
awesome.
that,
Great.
if it wasn't for him, there's no way that, you know, all of this stuff could have got started with our company. And I mean, hats off to him for that. You know, I just blended and make it.
So when you say it's bio-based,
Mm-hmm.
what actually is it? I mean, or
It's
you don't have
made-
to give me your secrets.
No, it's
recipe,
okay.
but
Um,
we're not talking obviously fossil fuels or.
okay, it's made
that
out
type
of pine tar.
pine tar.
Pine tar. So you take the hydrocarbons that are in this are, remember pine sol?
Cleaner.
Pine sol cleaner.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Kind of the same thing, except it's fermented and transferred, and then it's turned into an alcohol, like making moonshine. And so, seriously, and so you know, you get it hot, you cool it off, boom. Now you got this really, really good solvent. And you know, it was just a thing back a long, long time ago. I was asking my dad. It was so funny because I said, hey, why is it that under these pine trees, the snow doesn't melt, or the snow melts, and so like there's like this much snow all around the tree except under the tree. And he said, oh, that's because of the pine needles. It makes the snow melt. And then that kind of got my wheels turning about chemistry. I'm like, that's pretty cool. And so
I thought it was acidic, but
what it is it takes it's a pH level that's acidic, and it'll take the molecules and pull them apart.
okay.
So it can work like for you know, a de-icer, stuff like that. But problem is you got to make a lot of pine tar. You got to get a lot of pine tar, and salt's just cheaper.
True.
You know, we've tried doing the whole bio-based de-icer and stuff like that, and they're like, it's a great idea. They loved it for their dogs because some of the dogs, the salt would hurt their paw pads,
Right.
and you know, they loved it for the dogs because of that. But then it was just cost prohibitive. It's 30% more. Originally, I started off with a bio-based brake parts cleaner. And I thought, you know, this would be something great, but then it was like 30% more than everything else, and guys don't want to pay.
for it. Yeah.
Guys don't want to pay it. So then I just figured, and you know, the gun lube thing started because we had a friend that was in Afghanistan. He was a contractor for Blackwater, and the problem is over there with the AR-15s, the sand is like moon dust. And the bolt wouldn't close on the M4 carbines. So I made this gun lube so the sand would not stick to the rifle. And so I was like, oh, you just need this, and this, and put it in there, man. It's that simple. And I made it, and he said, it not only kept the sand off the rifle, it kept the carbon off the rifle, and the rifle ran cooler. I knew nothing about guns. And I said, so that's good. And he's like, that's great. He says, you got to get this in the military. And so that was our whole, and then I told Clayton, I said, we got to do this. And he did big $1 million contracts with all these different companies, and he knew how to write fancy letters and put up good words and all that stuff.
Right.
And I'm like, you do that, I'll do this, and let's do this. And yeah, that's basically how we started.
So what did you do before all this? Just out of
I was an
curiosity.
auto mechanic.
Okay. Well,
I was an auto mechanic I started busting tires at Sears Automotive when I was 19 years old, and then I moved up to a senior master auto tech at Hyundai, and then, my dad told me, he said, there's a reason why toolboxes got wheels on them. And I never figured that out until, you get ticked off, and you're like, well, screw this place. And you go move to another place, and then you take it. So, I did my tour around Rockford, Rock River Hyundai, Rock River Ford, Rock River, and then Strangquist Motors, Finley, did the whole tour. And then I worked at Chrysler, and then I went from Chrysler, then I went and got another job as an auto technician, and I said, I'm burnt out on this. I don't want to do it no more. And then that was the whole thing about the brake cleaner, because the brake cleaner that we were using, funny story. I was working at Lubac Road, and somebody got ticked off and they got fired. And of course, when they get fired, they call OSHA. Well, OSHA came in and they were walking around, and I didn't know who this guy was, and I just had this washer bottle full of brake cleaner. Okay. And
can only imagine where we're going with this.
And he goes, what's in the bottle? And I'm like, water. And he sniffs it, and he goes like, oh, I was just kidding. It's not water. It's brake cleaner. And I didn't know who he was. And then he's like, I'm from OSHA. And I was like, oh no.
Uh-oh.
And he goes, where's your shop foreman? And I'm like, he's in there. So then I'm like, oh God, what's gonna happen? And then he's like, Balmes, come here. And I'm like, oh God. You go in there, and he looks at me and he goes, where is the MSDS sheet for the brake cleaner? And I'm like, and he goes like that. I'm like, oh, it's in the filing cabinet right here under brake cleaner. So I pull it out, and I'm looking for brake cleaner. There is no MSDS sheet for this. I'm like, oh no. And then I'm like, here it is. And then I put it back in, and the guy goes, let me see it. And I'm like, and it was for carbon choke cleaner. And he's like,
well, close.
So there was a big fine. But then we got the MSDS sheets, and then we had to get re-educated on all that stuff. And then it was like, I was looking at the formulation in this. I'm like, toluene, benzene, what? This stuff will kill you, man. And I was like, no wonder why I got headaches after I do a brake job. So then I decided that so me and Clayton were like, hey, let's make a brake cleaner. But we didn't know anything about, making sure that it's going to, just because you design something and engineer something doesn't mean it's going to sell. So we would put a whole bunch of time in that, and yeah, that kind of, but we just keep trying.
Open the door, though.
Just keep trying, keep trying new stuff. Maybe something's going to stick. I mean, we even tried bio-based nail polish remover. Yeah, that was we were.
I was making some nails, or what happened there?
Okay, so I was working at the shop, and this lady goes, "That kind of smells like nail polish remover." It was a brake cleaner. So then I went over there and I sprayed a little bit on a cloth, and I went over to her finger and I went, "Meh," and it couldn't come right off. And she's like, "Hey, I just did my nails." I'm like, "Whoa!" I said, "We could sell this." I told my brother, I said, "Hey, we could sell this as nail polish remover." You don't want to get in the cosmetic industry, man. That is, that's cutthroat, man. I was like, I'm just gonna stick with gun lube. These people are, wow. But there's a lot of money you can make in it, but you just got to have a lot of capital to get started, and fancy hand models, and we got that. So that's why we just stuck with the gun lube.
there's plenty in that industry, I think, already.
Oh yeah,
way more.
Still nobody has a bio-based nail polish remover, but I mean, we've had a couple of corporations approach us about it, and then they beat us up on the price, and we're like, no, we're not going to do it. If I can't make 200% profit, I ain't doing it. It's not worth my time.
So what's the origination of the name Spartan Max? Is that just a combination, or
that was something my brother? That was something Clayton. We had Sin Max for the racing oil,
Okay.
Started with Spartacus Group.
And well, it started. You seen it on the back of a race car. You seen it on the back of a race car. What did it say?
It said Spartacus was here.
Spartacus was here, and he said, one of these days I'm going to have a business that says Spartacus. So we started Spartacus Group, and then we wanted to do the thing with the Sparta Clean, because we needed something for the Green Initiative, bio-based content, all that stuff.
Right.
So then we started Sparta Clean Corporation. Now we got the Spartamax Defense, because we have to have a designated name for the military contracting.
So does the new Green Deal stuff have anything possible, if that ever gets passed, or who knows what's in it? I mean,
well, some of the requirements, you just got to have something that's 50% bio-based, and and a lot of the people get confused with biodegradable, and biodegradable. Everything's biodegradable. Bodies are biodegradable.
right?
Dog crap's biodegradable, but but bio-based means that they take. I'm rabbit trailing, but bio-based means that they take. It's the carbons that come from like this far from the dirt up. Plant life, anything that's made from plants. And they've got a special tester. They got a machine down in it's a testing machine in Florida, and they used it for testing the moon rocks. So they shot pulses through these moon rocks, and they could tell what the carbon base and carbon dated. So they do the same thing with the bio-based content in our gun lube. So you give them a little bottle of it, and then they shoot it through there, and they can say, this is how much of the carbon that is carbon 14. Everything carbon 8 or something like that. That's like dead dinosaurs and stuff like that. So that's not a renewable resource. Plants are a renewable resource, so they want things that are a renewable resource. Top end stuff. So
Interesting.
now you know. You just got a college credit.
Well, I'm gonna sit here and listen. I know we got a little off the racing game
I'm
there,
sorry.
but dang, but that's interesting stuff to me. And hopefully, 5 million guns I think were sold last year in the U.S. and
There ain't no bullets for them, but yeah, we got plenty of guns.
the ammo shortage. But
Boy,
so that side of it looks good for
Yeah.
the future of you guys. But anyway, we're getting near the end of our hour. It looks like. So I want to.
Wow, guys, I'm sorry.
See how fast that goes.
Golly.
We want to wish you exciting good luck for the upcoming season, and hope your dreams come true, and we'll get you in victory lane, or at least a rookie of the year. Or
if I could just win a feature, guys like DJ and Racer X, those guys, I look up to those guys. They're hard chargers, and I just hope I can mirror off these guys. God forbid I don't do anything stupid, piss them off. I might. Sorry if I do that, but so you know.
Sorry now. And this is racing, so stuff's gonna happen.
They understand, and I understand too. You
just remember the night that DJ first won his feature in the late model. I think the whole place was like tingling.
Oh my gosh!
It was like we're all on the edge of our seats, and that's an accomplishment that's pretty awesome.
Pretty sure every single spotter that was on the roof was cheering for him.
Yeah.
Down to those last couple
Golly.
rounds. It didn't matter what competition you were to him. I think everybody clapped.
Everybody was rooting for him, man. That was great.
Every single Roadrunner guy was fucking fist pumping.
And you know what? And I got a feeling they're probably going to do the same thing to me, because they're going to be seeing me and they're going to be like, hey, he's one of us, And I hope they do,
I don't think you had a bad rap. You're a clean racer. You and your brother helped everybody out in the world when you could. And
I help everybody else I can, man.
So, well, good luck to you. Thanks for joining us tonight. And Spartamax, whatever the technical term for the sponsor of the show.
Oh,
Spartamax
Max Defense.
Spartamax Defense. Thank you.
Defense. Yep.
Defense. And we got to thank Richie's Smoking Barbecue and Misfit Productions. Make sure you go on, click subscribe. That's how Kyle puts this all together, keeps him rolling, and he feeds his dog that way.
Yeah.
So everybody, thanks for watching. We'll see you again next week, Outside the Fence.